Ever flip through a travel brochure and think, wait, where is everyone? You see those stunning landscapes, and it makes you wonder about the people who actually call those places home.
It's like they airbrushed out an entire country's worth of people.
Right. So
Yeah.
today we're diving into that very mystery. Specifically, we're talking about Canada. It's huge, it's beautiful, but it's also surprisingly sparsely populated.
Yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher when you think about it.
It really is, especially when you compare it to its southern neighbor. Canada and the US, they're practically the same size, landmass-wise.
Almost like two peas in a pod, geographically speaking.
But the US population, 9 times bigger. 9. So what gives? Why isn't Canada bursting at the seams with people?
Well, to understand that, you've got to change the way you look at population. Imagine a world map, right? But instead of a countries being sized by, how much land they have, they're sized by how many people live there.
Okay, I'm picturing it, and it's kind of blowing my mind.
Right, that's an isodemographic map. And it completely changes your perspective. Suddenly, China and India, they become these giants.
And I'm guessing Canada, even with all that land, shrinks down quite a bit.
Exactly. It really highlights those global imbalances in a powerful way.
It makes you think, what would our own countries look like on that map? Would we be jostling for space or, ruling the world? What about yours?
That's a good question. One that definitely makes you think twice about the whole idea of population density. And when you zoom in on Canada, that contrast between packed and sprawling becomes even more apparent.
Because it's not like Canadians are just like sprinkled evenly across the wilderness, are they?
Not at all. You've got these things called census metropolitan areas, or CMAs. Think of them as population magnets. A whopping 80% of Canadians are crammed into these zones.
Hold on, 80%. So the vast, vast majority are in these very specific pockets.
Pretty much. It's a far cry from those wide open spaces you see in the brochures.
It's like Canada has a split personality or something. So how does that even happen? What makes these CMAs so appealing? Why there?
It boils down to, the usual suspects: resources, transportation, job opportunities. These CMAs, they didn't just pop up randomly. They're strategically located to maximize those things.
It's like Geography 101 playing out in real time. But here's the thing. If these CMAs are where it's at, why don't we see them plastered all over the tourism ads?
Well, because those ads, they're selling a fantasy. And it makes you wonder about the other 20%, the ones who aren't in those bustling CMAs. Where are they? What's life like outside the CMA bubble?
Yeah, it's like there's this whole other Canada hiding in plain sight.
Absolutely. And that's where, remember that section in the textbook we were looking at about
Yeah.
those 20 communities?
Oh, right. Yeah. It was like a geography puzzle. You had to match each community to its population stats and try to figure out why people lived where they did.
Exactly. It's a great way to illustrate just how much variety there is in Canada's population distribution.
Yeah.
You've got everything from those densely packed urban centers to like tiny communities clinging to the edge of the wilderness.
Which makes you wonder what makes certain communities thrive while others struggle. What are the factors at play here?
Well, it's a combination of things, really. Sometimes it comes down to natural resources, right? Think about mining towns, fishing villages. They spring up where the resources are.
Makes sense.
Other times, it's all about transportation. Rivers, railroads, highways, those become like arteries, and communities pop up along them.
It's amazing how you can practically see history written on the landscape, Like you can almost trace the paths of those early settlers.
Oh, absolutely. And then, of course, you've got government policies.
Yeah.
Those can have a huge impact on where people choose to live. Decisions made decades ago, like agricultural incentives or infrastructure investments, they could still be shaping things today.
It's like a ripple effect through time. It really drives home the point that geography isn't just about maps and mountains and stuff. It's about the very real lives and choices that people make within those spaces.
Exactly. And those choices can lead to very different ways of life. Imagine the difference between someone living in a bustling city center and someone in a remote village. The pace of life, the opportunities, the challenges, they're all shaped by that geographical context.
And speaking of challenges, we can't ignore the shrinking populations of many rural communities. I mean, those numbers in the textbook, in Table 1-2 and Figure 1-7, they paint a pretty stark picture.
It's a complex issue, that's for sure. With traditional industries on the decline, a lot of young people are forced to leave their hometowns to find work.
And that leaves behind.
Aging populations, dwindling tax bases. It's a story we see playing out in rural areas around the world. And those statistics, they represent real people, real families, real communities.
Grappling with an uncertain future.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, are these communities destined to just fade away, or can they find ways to reinvent themselves, adapt to the 21st century?
It's a question without easy answers, but it's definitely something to think about, especially as the world becomes more urbanized. But before we go too far down that road, maybe we should circle back to that idea of Canada's ecumene, that whole concept of where Canadians are and aren't concentrated.
Yeah, it's like someone took a highlighter, right, to a map of Canada and said, okay, this is where most of the action is, but then what about all that other space?
Well, that's just it, isn't it? Look at that figure from the textbook, figure 1 to 5, the one showing Canada's ecumene. And you realize just how much of the country is sparsely populated or, yeah, even considered uninhabitable.
We're not just talking about, like, way up north in the Arctic,
Right.
right? Nope, not at all. There are pockets of these less populated areas all over, even in the southern parts of the country. It's pretty striking when you really start to pay attention.
It really makes you think about those assumptions, about living in a developed country. Like, just because Canada as a whole has this reputation for a high quality of life doesn't mean everyone's experiencing it equally.
Exactly. It's like this hidden layer of inequality almost, woven right into the fabric of the country. And it makes you wonder, how will this play out as Canada's population keeps growing? Will we see more people venturing out, settling in those less populated areas, or will these patterns just become even more extreme?
It's the million-dollar question. And
Yeah.
I bet it has huge implications for, well, everything really. Housing, infrastructure, how we manage our resources, environmental sustainability.
Absolutely. It's all connected.
Well, I'd say we've covered some serious ground today. From bustling CMAs to those shrinking rural communities, we've really gotten a sense of how population density plays out across Canada.
It's been a fascinating deep dive, that's for sure.
It really is amazing how much geography influences, well, pretty much every aspect of our lives, right? Where we live, how we live, even what opportunities we have or don't have for that matter. And I think that's something worth remembering, especially as we move forward, facing new challenges like climate change and, all the complexities of a rapidly changing world. It's not just about lines on a map, is it?
Not even close.
So next time you see a map, any map, take a second to think about the people who call those places home, because their stories, that's what makes those places truly come alive. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those thinking caps firmly in place.